Well, hello again. So to continue the review of the ETC lists, we were gonna go look at the infernal dwarves now. So infernal dwarves, it's an army that I rate quite highly, and it's no surprise to me that there's 17 of them at the ETC this year. I find that it's quite a well-balanced army, capable of dealing quite some damage from a long range, even though I think that there used to be a theory that infernal dwarfs have a bit of a disadvantage in terms of range with their artillery. However, 36 inches is still fine, I would say, but that's I have experience with dread elves, and then your artillery has 24-inch range, and your normal shooting weapons only 18 inches, and then they're not even as impressive. So I think infernal dwarfs, range-wise at least, is just in a fine spot. We have Fabian. He is in Team Austria. He's bringing, let's see if this is going to be the same story as Highborn Elves, where everybody's really bringing the same list, more or less. We have a Prophet of Shamut on a Bull of Shamut. I think this we're going to see quite often, because this is a setup that is highly mobile, has a built-in 5-up Aegis. Mobility is good if you play Occultism. And then basically the rest, this can differ a bit from character to character. I think you start with a 4-up from your armor, you go to a 3-up with Basalt, you go to a 2-up with the shield. I don't know what Kadim Binding does. Flame of the East, I think it's the one hit that you do in combat with multiple wounds too, if I'm right. Because it's not the shooting thing, I guess. Tablet of Vezardines is going to be the one that everybody will take, because it increases your chances to cast a spell. Yeah, I think the elements here that everyone's going to take, occultism or alchemy, doesn't really matter. But this and then the tablet, you're going to see that everywhere. Possibly not on the bull, but then you will have a vizier on the bull. He has a vizier, BSB, blunderbuss with crystal ball. It's kind of funny that you have this one, and he doesn't have the infernal bastion, but there's a reason for that. He has twice 30 infernal warriors, so in the bastion you can only shoot with up to 20 guys, so you don't want more than 20 generally. Or at least not many more. If you play 30, then probably you play them either 10 wide or even 15 wide. I've seen that. And with the blunderbuss, they work quite well with the great weapons together. I think this is a solid core. You do want still your vassal levies, because they're just, oh my god, so good. To give you that reroll to wound in combat with nearly all of your units. Whenever you want. I don't know if the Prophet can choose the attribute, or if the Masu gets Glory of Gold or some kind of, but you get flaming attacks in some ways. Infernal Artillery, the rocket battery, it's just something that is matchup changing sometimes. Green Titan with the Naphtha Thrower, I don't really know if you need this, but I guess Infernal Dwarfs can struggle a bit against big infantry blocks sometimes. And an Infernal Engine, also with an Naphtha Thrower. I guess maybe the theory is that you can deal with monsters already with these models, and then with the Naphtha Thrower you make it a bit more versatile. I do think that the Kadim is better if you take the combat option, just because it then really puts the hurt on your opponents. We have Jake Corteen, so he has a Prophet of Ashruk, which is different from what we saw before, because that was a Prophet of Shamut. I don't know the differences between the different prophets. I know that the Lugar one is the naked one. We have Wizmaster on Occultism, we have the Tablet, so basically what you need. Vizier with the Icon of Ashruk as well. The Breath of the Brass Pool. Basically the same core setup, but then with flaming standards. We have a small magic user here, so we have a bit less magic than on the other list. Vassal Slingshots are 80 points is just too cheap for these things. But I get that they don't really get taken too much in Infernal Dwarfs, just because the other war machines are really good as well. Double Kadim. Yeah, I don't know if you prefer generally to get a separate rocket battery and then a Kadim, or just a Kadim with the rocket battery. My personal preference as an opponent is that if the Kadim has the rocket battery, I prefer that. Just because it limits what your Kadim can do, in the sense that either you have to choose for it to be a rocket battery for a turn, or you make use for it from its combat stats, but you don't get to get both. And also the rocket battery on the Kadim only has 18 inches range, which is great as an opponent. Big units of disciples, these are just they're too good for their points. It's I would expect to see a lot of these, and just also because of the mobility within the army. Always great weapons. Is that true? Would I always take paired weapons? Can also be interesting if you take the decent magic support, but you're gonna strike the last anyway. Your front rank has 2 attacks anyway, so I would go great weapons here. Finland, Piri Pizzo, Piri, I don't know. Prophet of Ashruk as well, with Master on Alchemy, but with the tablet. And we have an Overlord on the Bush of Shamut with the Onyx core. I told people like this is just too cheap for an Overlord with Onyx core. Sure, you have to take another weapon enchantment and then pay for that, but it's included in the cost of the guy, so don't complain about that. If you look at the Highborn, the High Prince that we saw before, he's 760 points or something. Sure, he has a 4 Vegas and not a 5 up, but he doesn't do multiple wounds. He doesn't have and hatred and 5 attacks and reroll to wound basically built in. It's this guy is way too cheap for what he does. So my army would be composed of this guy, of these guys, of rocket battery. I don't know if I would take the infernal bastion. It is within the army. It is quite a decent brick. I think I would take something like this actually, because the Vizier BSB with a double Legion standard goes with the Infernal Warriors with the Blunderbuss into the Infernal Bastion, and then you have a unit that your opponent literally cannot shift in any way. So that makes sense. Maybe I would make this into a second unit of Disciples, because they seem better for me. But otherwise, this is the list I would play in. So I think so far this is the best list. France, Mathieu Vuillemin, Infernal Dwarves, Overlord on a Bull of Shamut, and a Prophet Wizard Master. This time it's a Prophet of Lugar, and it doesn't have the tablet of Van Azizadeh. Great weapon Kingslayer for those engagements where you really need it. Do you need it? I don't think so, but it's 15 points more over Shieldbreaker. Once again, the thing I saw with Kingslayer on a mount like a Bull of Shamut or a Dragon is that your guy has to be in contact with the characters to get the bonus. So if you charge a unit in the flank, you get a 0 bonus from Kingslayer, generally. Because it's not about characters in the unit that you are in contact with, but actually models that are in contact with your own unit that your character is in. And if you only have a Bull of Shamut, then your unit is only composed of that single bull. Vizier with Legion Standard, Breath of the Brass Bull for a breath weapon. I don't think it's a toxic one though, right? Vassal Conjurer on Pyromancy. I don't know why you would take Pyromancy, because Witchcraft seems better in Infernal Dwarves. Infernal Warriors with Blunderbuss, a lot of Blunderbusses, some Bastion. I think the Great Weapon guys are going to be deployed quite wide, and the Infernal Warriors, these are going to be in the Bastion unit. Do I think this list is maybe better than the previous one? Maybe a little bit. It's just a little bit different. Like the Taruks are out, you get a Citizen Giant. Shield, I believe, was also pretty nice. I don't remember exactly what it does, but I think this guy anyway has like a 4 up armor save or 3 up, which is really good for a giant. Would have taken a big brother though, I guess. Germany, Anthony Thompson. We have a Prophet Occultism tablet. We have an Overlord on a Bull with Eye of the Bull is the shooting weapon. So the Flame of the East is indeed the one hit that does multiple wounds. 2, I don't know why you don't take Onyx Core, because it's really, really good. And you can get it for the same price if you build your setup a bit differently. Eye of the Bull Flintlock Axe, it is really good. Is it worth the points that you spend on this guy? I don't know, because you get into discussions or considerations of like, should I use this as a combat guy or should I try to make use of my Eye of the Bull? And I think the decision should always be to use your 588 point guy, not as a bolt thrower that does 1 wound. 1 wound. 1 wound. We have a Vizier with a Legion Standard again, with the Infernal Bastion. This is a recurring theme, isn't it? So we have the Infernal Warriors with the Shield and the Blunderbusses with the Bastion. We have a big unit of Lucaras. We have, in this case, we have a Walking Earthquake, Kadim Titan, which I think is the better one. Citizen Giant with a giant club, so he didn't go for the Tower Shield. But honestly, it's the same variation on the same thing. This list is really different though. So we have an Overlord on a Bull of Shamut, sure, with Onyx Core, sure. Great Weapon Cleansing and Light, just for the cheapness of it, I think. The Ring of Desecration makes you flammable. No, that's the other one, I guess. I don't know what this does. Prophet with a Master without the tablet. Okay. But he does want to just get a magic phase out of this because he gets the extra spell, so that is possible. Vizier on the Bull of Shamut, just a cheap extra support guy, I guess. Then 200 vessel levies, more or less. They're gonna. I thought they would shoot, but they just have spear and shield. I'm confused. I didn't know that these guys were good enough to just play as spear and shield combat units, but apparently they are. I mean, discipline 10 with steadfast will grind out. I'm curious to this. I'm curious how it will do compared to the other lists. I think it will actually not. It's like this thing where if everybody takes certain types of lists, then this starts to become viable again, right? Like, you just put wounds down, you just put bodies down. I don't know if I would rate the Kadim Incarnates having only Ghost Step and no Fly anymore. That's a big thing here, because, well, you're gonna be stuck up in combat and your opponent will be able to chaff you in places as they don't have flying anymore. So that might be tricky, getting support to the combats where you want to get them. I would have expected this Banner of Speed or just more Taurus in this list, particularly because then you can really play the Anvil and Hammer and Anvil style list. But I think it's a really cool list from Team Ireland. We also have Simone Cucuzza from Italy, I guess. Italy bringing the Infernal Dwarves. We have the Overlord with Great Weapon Kingslayer, Onyx Core on an Infernal Weapon. That is kind of different, I guess. Does it give you the extra strength then as well? Because that would be really good. Because Onyx Core normally is strength 5, right? I don't know how this works or why or what this does. Prophet with the Torok Ritual. That is the first time we see that one. Prophet of Shamut. We haven't. He also doesn't have the tablet. Okay. I should have had hoped that Death Cheater would be not available to Infernal Dwarves because of all the flaming that you've got going on. I mean, it's kind of fluffy to not be able to get Death Cheater in that. Lamasu with the Dragon Staff. Also didn't know they could take items. But the Dragon Staff is quite good on Lamasu, I think. Vizier with double Legion Standard. Spear with the Flame of the East. That's nice. Blunderbuss, Infernal Warriors with the Banner of Speed so that your Bastion goes a bit faster. Twice the Disciples. This is the rest of your core setup that makes sense. And then Torque Enforcers to house your Wizard. think he wants just a bit more mobile wizard, which I do not get in combination with alchemy. Like if this guy had occultism, I would imagine, I would understand it, but with alchemy I don't understand. Because alchemy doesn't need range that much. So you don't need to spend these points to get your caster so mobile. But if you like the mobile caster, then you should definitely go for it. Like if you make your caster 80 points cheaper by just putting him on foot and in a unit, then you can get the vassal slingshot that basically is your silver spine. Yeah, is this better than the others? I thought these guys were immune to panic, but apparently they aren't. Don't know if this is better. Don't know. I think it lacks a bit of shooting compared to the other lists that we saw, and it does not even improve the combat potential that much, so I'm surprised. But if it works, it works. Latvia, Alexander Zinkovic, Prophet, Wizard Master with Occultism. It's just with Occultism, we have the Blaze of Protection on this guy, a magical heirloom, so we don't have the tablet. I'm just going to repeat it because I think the tablet is really good. Overlord with no Onyx Core. Where's the Onyx Core? Because I would say that if you take this, then either you take the Flintlock Axe with the Unholy Bull, or the Onyx Core, or both. Then we have a Visor with a sword PSB Spear, sure. He doesn't have the Bastion, but he does have a smaller unit of Infernal Warriors and then the Levies. It's interesting to see people deviate from the granted things, or the taken for granted things. Double Condemn Incarnates, I'm not too impressed with them nowadays without the fly, to be honest. Immortals, first unit of Immortals. Haven't seen them for a long while, so I don't even know what they do anymore. That's a really different. It doesn't have really any ranged potential other than the blunderbusses. Blunderbusses, by the way, you can counter quite easily by staying in terrain or guarding your precious units with other units that are less precious to you, because soft cover just really screws up blunderbusses. Gregory from Luxembourg. A prophet of Ashruk on alchemy. A visor with the Legion standard. Oh, guess where he's gonna go? He's gonna go into the unit with the Infernal Bastion. With the Infernal Warriors with the shields. Then we have a big unit of Vassal Levies, so that is kind of new. We have Torok Anointed. There used to be quite a hype for Torok Anointed 2 years ago, I think. And then you would play this setup. But I don't know if you... I thought they swapped the great weapons and the paired weapons then. Because a unit of 3 with great weapon doesn't make too much sense, to be honest. Because the enemy strikes first. 155 for an after thrower is also a steal. Infernal Dwarves have sometimes such cheap things, it's really... and the Academia. This is a decent... It's a different take on the standard, but it's also a decent list. Like compared to the Disciples, the Torque Anointed with paired weapons, they just are a bit more mobile. I guess the Disciples strike harder though. So I would take the Disciples, because the mobility difference is not that big. Christian! But then the Disciples against the Tauruks, I guess the Tauruks are still more mobile, so in a gunline matchup, that might be better. I guess, but because you also have Swiss, right? So it's an extra turn of shooting. Prophet, Wizard Master, what's called an Idol, Visor, Well Smart, la la la. We have a Bastion again. I think the Bastion is just a bit of a boring choice. It's such a safe thing. It's why do people start taking Kadeems again? I really missed the memo there. So I should have taken a Dragonfire Gem, apparently. Don't really have any character that can take it now. So, yeah, it's also a decent list, a bit more balanced with some shooting options. So I think it's generally a bit better. I'm not saying that shooting in general is better than non-shooting, but Slovenia, we have Mateo, Bull of Smut, Onyx Core, Prophet, Ashok Quizmaster on Alchemy, Lamasu, 5-0 Legion Standard, Infernal Bastion, Infernal Warriors. This we can copy, and this we can copy, and this we can copy, and then we insert it in every list. And then you fill it up with disciples and Kadim. So basically, everybody kind of found the same list more or less, except for this guy that brings 200 of the vessel levies. And then you have the alternative core setup of the Infernal Warriors with great weapons, blunderbuss of 30 big. And then you have this list. This one is different from Spain. Spain's going to teach us a lesson. Prophet, magical heirlooms, scepter of power, so you don't have the tablet, but you do have the extra spell, and you still have the capability of forcing a spell through. Vizier, golden idol, just to have a bit more magic. Flintlock axes, 24 flintlock axes. Are you gonna play them 12 wide? Or are you gonna? Because there's also this banner that you can reform, but he didn't take that. He didn't even take a banner. So I think he played them 12 wide. That's wide. You'll get cover from that. Doesn't seem to work, but 600 points. 600 points. Maybe you just play them as just halberd guys and just deal with that. Like the Infernal Dwarf special rule of being steadfast with your double ranks also really helps there, I guess. Because people think it's a shooting unit and then they tend to go in and then they actually discover that it's a combat unit. And then you're already in. You're too late. Too late, buddy. We have disciples, we have Kadeems. Akadeems maybe just really cheap for what they do. Like 480 points for 6 is 80 points per. Is that right? 40 plus 20. Yeah, 80 points per. 80 points for Academe. Is that cheap? Not really. Okay. Yeah. Don't know. Strange list. Mostly combat, right? Like shooting wise, you only have the blunderbusses and the flintlock axes. So you're not gonna shoot that much. It's also a bit of a downside I find of occultism. Like you bank on your range damage with occultism, but just occultism alone is not enough in terms of ranged damage output. I would not be happy with this list, but maybe they know better. Switzerland, Mathieu, Beauvais. So we have an overlord with the Onyx core, basically. A prophet wizardmaster on occultism. A vizier with Legion standard and Willow sword. He has a blunderbuss, so he can also shoot with the Infernal Bastion. Infernal Bastion, big unit of great weapon blunderbusses. The obligatory vessel levies without bowstone. Just a chaff unit, 180 points chaff. Expensive chaff, but it's Infernal Dwarfs, so they get expensive chaff. That's one of their downsides, I'm told. Disciples, Kadeems, Torque Anointed. Great weapon, guys. Are you missing AP with Infernal Dwarfs? I didn't think so. So I don't know why these guys get great weapons in lists. And a tower shield. I'm a bit surprised to see such a combat-oriented list for Switzerland, because I know that Mathieu is a bit more of a more defensive player. looking at his battle reports that pop up from time to time, I would judge him to be a more defensive player than offensive, and this list seems to be more suited towards offense than defense. So that's just something that I see. Turkey. Can Turkey? Yes, Turkey can. Oh, this guy must have heard that joke so often. Overlord, Onyx Core, Lamasu, Vizier, BSB, no stuff to get extra rank bonus though. This is different. This is different. No Prophet, so we do have Vestal Conjurers. We have 3 spells in total. 40 Infernal Warriors with great weapons. Yet no blunderbusses. I would have put blunderbusses on these dudes, man. Vessel Levies, Green Chariots with great weapons. It's a cool MSU type Infernal Dwarf list. I really like this. Yeah, I really like this. With a bit of a gunnery teams. Gunnery teams. You never see those anymore. Gunnery teams. I'm really excited to play against the list and see how this goes, because this is really off meta. So I would be really excited to play against this just to see how it works, because it seems to work. It's a really cool list, I think. Yeah. Thomas, who has an overload on a great bull of shaman. There's a difference between the. Oh, this is like the dragon guy. Great bull of shaman as well. It's a second great bull. No. Onyx core though. Okay. Apparently the great bull is good enough by itself. Prophet of Najib Cash, whatever that is. I think it's the engineer guy, or is that Ashur guy? I don't know. Tablet. Visor on the bull, with the flintlock axe eye of the bull, and Lucas dice for the reroll. 485 in total. And he has the BSB. It's not even that expensive, is it? I guess. Not even. Yeah, it's getting on the expensive side. This is more damage oriented at range, I think. Like Alchemy has a long range. This guy has a decent range of 18 plus the advance. Flintlock axes, some blunderbusses, rocket battery, titan mortar. Yeah, this guy mostly plays the shooting, and then you come at me, and then I whack you in the face with the stuff I still have left. Generally, I like this list, but I don't like playing against them because it's basically a castle that you have to conquer, and then either you manage and then everything dies at some point, or you don't and then you just die, which is not an interesting game, to be honest. Ryan Caps from the USA. I have seen some of these USA names before, I feel. Prophet, Wizard Master on Occultism with the tablet, then an Overlord at NX Core, a Vizier without the Infernal Bastion. So he probably goes into the Immortals. People are gonna wonder what Immortals do because nobody sees them. Infernal Warriors with blunderbusses, 30 of them, yeah, that's the common size basically. Vessel Levies, bows as well, yeah, makes sense. Caddies and double Nafta thrower. Why do you need double Nafta? Do you really need to deal with infantry that badly? Infantry and monsters infantry and they're just too cheap. They're just too cheap. I get this list as well. I feel like I've been saying it a lot for Infernal Dwarves, but Infernal Dwarves is just one of these lists where you can't really build a bad list. I feel. Well, so Prophet of Ashhook, Magical Island this time. So we spend a little bit less on the magic apparently. Legion standard thing, so we have the Infernal Bastion with the standard otherwise filled core setup. Yeah, this is basically the standard army. Fabian from Austria. Are we at the start again? Yeah, we are at the start. Yeah, so that is going to be infernal dwarves. Then after infernal dwarves we have the kingdom of Equitaine. So we start here with Felix Gruber, I guess from Germany, from Austria, so close to Germany. He has the following list. I have not seen. Where's the general? Struggling to find a general in here. I don't think he has a general. So the paladin has not a leader. The damsel is apparently not a general. The duke is not a general. Oh, here we are. The folk hero general. On a face deed, he is the sainted guy. So he went for the kind of budget option for the general, who's a cleric. Duke on a charger, yeah, quite basic as well. Paladin on the hippogriff, that, yeah, it's nice. It's with Kingdom you have a couple of different builds. Like one build is to have a couple of heroes that are really really good and they just fight out of every situation. Um, then you have this build that is a little bit in between, and you have the non-character build. This build is, generally speaking, I would say that this is the bit less strong build because you do tend to lose the heroes just due to random events like you miss a save somewhere and suddenly the 2 wounds on your hero is going to be 3 wounds and you just lose him. So power level wise, I would say it's better to just put these points in 2 characters, 3 characters, rather than the 4 that are here. Even though the damsel is quite cheap. So I would combine the paladin, the duke, and the folk hero to 2 characters. I know that the cleric castellan can heal your characters. I'm fully aware of that, yet still, um, yeah, that's just my opinion. Generally, with this type of list. Then we have the Knight of the Realm with Banner of Odin, does something against shooting, I believe, or no stun and shoot or something. Mounted Sergeants, Knight of the Quest, Pegasus Knights. It's a well balanced list. A lot of different things in there. No bulking out on Knight of the Quest, for example. Knights of the Quest, they stay really expensive. However, with the folk hero, I don't know what I'm doing. No. With the folk hero in there, they do heal back quite well. I played a list just to practice once with 2 folk heroes with cleric and 2 units of Knights of the Quest. That seemed a bit excessive, but just 1 unit. It is 1,000 points, but it does bring back 1,000 points quite often. Current meta with a lot of Quicksilver Lash and a lot of Masters on Alchemy and a lot of Breath of Corruption. I don't know. Um, I also don't really know how Kingdom has evolved over time, other than Kingdom players always complaining about how their army had been nerfed yet another time. So probably they got nerfed quite a lot. But I don't know about that. There's also 13 armies of them, which is less than the previously seen 20 something. Then we have Yua, Yua from Finland. Yua. Yua. We have a paladin general on a hippogriff with a lance with divine judgment, prayer edged, sainted, and gallantry, and that is more in the range that I would say is yeah, quite decent in terms of the investment. So this is basically the setup that I was talking about with like Wizard Master Druidism, 2 big characters. Once again, the Kingslayer. Do remember that this only triggers if this dude is in contact with the characters. So if he's in the flank of your unit, too bad. No pluses for you, which makes these characters quite a bit worse, to be honest. Um, I don't know what Divine Judgment, Prayer Edge, and Sainted do. I think Divine Judgment is maybe the extra plus on your lance strength if you have charge. So if this guy gets charged, then he's a bit in a pickle. I've seen that before, and it's really cool if you can push them out a little bit with counter charges, because then they just can't charge really. But they are mobile enough themselves usually to get advantageous positions. Knights of the Realm twice, Knights of the Quest once. This is a bit of an attaboy list. Don't remember who said that a lot. I think there was some YouTuber who said attaboy, and then there was the list that would have to get all the points. Go get all the points, boy. Yeah, I don't know if I really like this because it's basically it's like the previous one, right? Where you don't. This one still has a lot of different pieces still with some different characteristics. Then it also has the lowborn levies. So I think in Kingdom 30 lowborn levies is quite a good choice because you just have something that can take a charge on paper at least. Not from everything at the opposing army, obviously, but just you can take a charge. Whilst this cannot take a charge, I think. Like the 23 men at arms it's not going to be enough unless you have stone skin up and other kinds of good stuff. Then you might be, but I don't know why you wouldn't just put a big brick of men at arms or levies in core, like 40 even or something, because this is 300 points, and the only thing it does is to just tank a charge basically, and then the levies are even better at that. Because the other weapons I don't remember exactly. I think it's the guys with the halberds or the great weapons. I guess the great weapons. Damage output out of them is not that impressive. So I don't really like this list because it doesn't have that many different pieces that it can use. And we have Thomas Ali Scrap from Germany. I don't know how he did it, but he brought like twice as much as the other players. I think it's mostly because he only spent 1200 points on characters instead of the 16. Oh no, he also had about. So he has a lot of different small characters. That is also still quite interesting. Duke on a Destrier with the Fortress of Faith, so a bit of an armor improvement. Adraken, Bastard Sword, Tristan's Resolve. I think this is one of the best items. It always seems very good as an opponent. I think as a Kingdom of Equitaine player, you don't see the revenue that this gives you. Because it's one of these items that your opponent has to avoid. Even though the weapon enchantments did get toned down over time, like Blessed Inscriptions is gone, Kingslayer doesn't trigger the way it used to. Hero's Heart, that's been a while. Hero's Heart also got turned down quite a bit. So Tristan's Resolve, it's mostly against the army book specific enchantments that it is really useful, like Godslayer. Send in this guy, and you're just looking at a Tomb King with a great weapon without an enchantment. Still with a great weapon though. So yeah, it's definitely a bit worse than Anthropic Aura or something. And for some reason you don't see Anthropic Aura as well. But we will get to that later. Tristan's Resolve, yes. Forbearance, I think it's. I have no idea what these all do. I should have a look at them. Let's have a look at Kingdom Forbearance and the others for what it's worth. Let's see. Army specific, army model, hereditary. Well, let's do the enchantments as well. So we saw Divine Judgment, that's the lance that gets extra strength. Tristan's Resolve. We had also the Panoply. It's +2 armor. Fortress of Faith is +1 armor when you are in a unit with at least 1 rank of file. Sure. And then the special things. Forbearance. While using a shield, that makes sense then. The model gains distracting. Is that good enough? I don't know. It's 35 points for distracting. Nah. Well, it's the BSB, so for your BSB, you just mostly want him to survive, I think. If it had been the general, it would have been a different story. So yeah, cool. Cool build. 4 hero on a face T who can fly, I believe. Is that? I am so bad with kingdom, like face deed. Let's look. Face deed, face deed, face deed, face deed. Has ghost step. Does not fly. Has ghost step. Large cavalry. So, oh yeah, that's the thingy from the guy who's in special. Folk hero on a face deed, great weapon, cleansing light, light armor, book of arcane mastery, sainted castle and mistral. So he's a wizard. He can fight a bit. Is he cheaper than, a, than like one of these Fey Knights? Fey Knight 350. This guy 400 is a wizard with 3 spells, I think. Minstrel. No, Minstrel is a wizard apprentice. This book has changed a lot, I would say. Wizard apprentice, yeah. So you do get the second, third, or fourth spell from divination through this guy, which is quite neat, because you only have access to a wizard apprentice by design. And I would say that double attribute, or at least 2 chances to get the attribute, is quite strong in Kingdom, because minimized discipline is just underrated in general. Folk hero on a heraldic steed, that is the one that does fly. Utter's metal. Oh, this is the one. That's a cool build, because this is the one that gives you an area attack with the same amount of ranks, more or less. So 1 times 5 with a lance or a light lance. On a lance, that guy can do more damage than. This is a cool build. This I appreciate. I appreciate this list in general, because it just has like small things in there that really seem smart, at least. Like the Quinn folk hero is a wizard adept, sure, yeah. So you have a wizard adept, you have a wizard apprentice, you have still an apprentice. So you don't channel, you channel 1, maybe 2. But you just have a lot of small bullshit, basically. So in this case, it does work to have so many different characters, I think. Because if you lose one, it's not bad. But if they're all 400 points, then it still counts towards your points when you lose one of them. Like, he doesn't want to lose the Duke. That is for sure with the enchantments that he has on them. Could have given him, though, Ghostly Guard and given the Fortress of Fate to the Paladin. But I think that the Paladin maybe wants to just run around on his own. But yeah, that's a cool build, because this guy is gonna survive. This guy is gonna cast a bit of spells. He's not gonna fight that much though, but he still had some decent attacks on his face deed. So he's just a cowboy. There's no healing though. Well, except for there's no healing. Folk hero with the anti-combat block, anti-infantry block enchantment. Then the witchcraft. How badly do we need witchcraft in Kingdom? I don't know. Anyway, rest of the list. We have Knights of the Realm. With the Lady's Favor, we have the Mounted Sergeants. I don't know why you would play these, because I also have Hedge Knights, and Hedge Knights seem better. But maybe he wants more scoring, so we have scoring. Seems to be enough scoring. We could get rid of one. I would have played the Hedge Knights, I think. Lowborn Levies, Knights of the Court for some nice counter charge. You also see these in smaller units still. But I guess in this list, this is the one combat threat that you really have. Like the one big threat. Castle Guard. What did Castle Guard do? Alarms. Castle Guard. Common Folk and Spear. Okay. And all the Wardens have the great weapons. Common Folk and Spear. So that's just 24 Spearmen. Yeah, I mean, I don't understand this unit, but that might be me. But the Relentless is always good. Trebuchets. I think it's a good list with a lot of different pieces that can really work well together. Don't know in this list why you wouldn't play Empire though, because Empire seems to be doing this better than Kingdom. I don't know if they have Empire with them. Don't think so. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. No, I would have gone with Empire, I think. But it's a matter of flavor as well. Italy. We have double juke. One's on hippogriff, one's on face teeth with the mortal reminder, so that's +1 strength, and you cause terror. Terror is nice to have in Kingdom, because you will charge quite a lot, and then the test sometimes goes wrong. I don't really know why you would want the extra strength from mortal reminder though. Because, I mean, you're already strength 6, so strength 7 doesn't make that much of a difference. However, you go to AP4. Oh, jeez. Sainted Country, Valor. Fearless. Multiple wins against Fear. That is a decent piece. This guy's gonna kill. It's a counter-charge piece, basically. Now we have a Hippogriff, Bastard Sword, Death due to Faith. Faith probably gives you Fearless, Holy Vows. And Holy Vows. Holy Vows is that you always have the Holy Vows. Holy Vows. Holy Vows. You get a blessing token, okay. How expensive is your blessing token? 30 points, okay. Okay. Yeah, decent. Druidism, because you run a BSB that runs on its own, and this guy as well. So Wizard Master makes sense, because you can always group them together, force through the big heal or get the small heal. This is just Shamanism. Number 1 is too good for the lore, for the cost. 175 for Shamanism level 1 is just a good deal. You see it pop up everywhere. And also the attribute of Shamanism is too good, basically. Knights of the Realm, Mounted Sergeants twice. Don't see any Hedge Knights. Knights of the Quest, Knights Penitent, Fey Knight. I think this is a better build than some of the others. Like, this build had too expensive, well, I don't know if they're too expensive, but really expensive characters. This is not a good build, I would say. The magic is better in the other, the combat output is better. Like, this is more in balance. Like, you have the scoring darts, basically, you have big combat threats, and you have characters that can actually put a dent in something. It's a good list. Fermindi Alarcon, I guess. Paladin General, a unicorn with Tusk Forged, for the extra armor, the Percival's Panoply, Sainted Gallantry, so that's the thingy, Lance Divine Judgment. Still not sold on the Lance with Divine Judgment, because you have to make the charge. Wizard Master Druidism, Wizard Adept Shamanism, and a Folk Hero with Fortress. BSB. Folk Hero with the Heraldic Steed. And the Uthas Medal. Yeah, this Folk Hero Uthas Medal is quite a funny piece, I think. Don't know if it's a gimmick or if it's really good. I think, like, in the MSU list of Germany, it was good because you cannot, as an opponent, focus on everything at once. In a list like this, you have less pieces that are flying around randomly. So then Light Armor Basalt Infusion is a 5+, Heraldic Steed is a 4+, 3+ safe only. Like, you need something, you need some other stuff around to protect him, I would say. Even though you can also hide behind other stuff, obviously. He was on a Heraldic Steed. Yeah, so he just has 3 wounds, yeah. Knights of the Realm, Hedge Knights, let's go. Low on levies, low on archers, with crossbows and musician. This is not worth it, I think. It's, you have them in Empire as well, and it's always sad to use them. Like an Empire, you can still give them an order, but 10 of them is not worth it, so you end up with a unit that hits on 5s or 6s. For that price, you might as well take another unit of low bond levies, just without any command options or anything. Knights of Quest, Men-at-Arms, Knights Forlorn. So we have all the different flavors of Knights of Men-at-Arms, so that's cool. We have the Citadel, or the City Guard, the Knights Forlorn, and the Auto Wardens. So that's cool. Double Trebuchet, and a Lantern. People are not gonna know what the Lantern do, I think, but that's okay. I think it's stronger in a list that actually plays Witchcraft. Minstrel is not Witchcraft, is it? No. Yeah. I think it's more of a 10-10 style list with the trebuchets and the big blocks of stuff that can hold the enemy up. So in that sense, maybe the characters also fit a bit better. It's a less aggressive list, I think. So I would say that different armies are better suited to do that. New Zealand. We have a Duke on a Hippogriff. We have a Duke on a Hippogriff. I think this is the style of list that I would play with Kingdom if I would play Kingdom. But I would still swap out one of the Knights of the Realm units for a bigger brick of infantry to just be able to push. 6 Knights of the Court seems sufficient to me. 9 Knights of the Quest is good. Double Chaff. It's what the Kingdom of Equitaine players love. Yeah, this is one of these out of the book lists. Like, if you buy this army, then you get this list presented, just as an example. Lars Morten 2. We have a General, Wizard Apprentice, Shamanism, Crown of Autocracy, Sainted. Yeah, that's a very cheap, efficient way of getting a 15-inch bubble on a character that is a little bit more survivable due to Shamanism. But you have to force through your magic. It's a smart choice, however. I think if you don't want to Saint it on any other character, and that is a big question. But Paladins themselves, they can also hit hard enough already. I think the advantage of Paladins over Dukes is that they have divine attacks generally. Duke 4 attack strengths of 7. You have an offensive more, you have defensive more. Ability, you have Aegis +1 against magical. Clergy heavy armor. Ability heavy armor. Divine attacks. Magical attacks. Basically, they're the same points. You don't have the principles, which is fine because you already have the divine attacks. Then again, the principles can also give some bonuses though. And the unicorns, do they give a bonus still? Magic resistance 2 is really good. Force kites. Oh wow, you get magical attacks again. You have Strider. Strider is cool though. Are they cheaper on the Unicorn 70 and a Unicorn 60? Sainted only. Yeah, so in order to play the Unicorn, you have to have the Paladins, and then you get Strider, you get Magic Resistance too. That is a decent trade actually. Still afraid of Quicksilver Lash and the like. Folk Hero with the Fortress of Faith, PSB. Yeah, cool. Mounted Sergeants, twice big units. This is the first time we see such big units of Mounted Sergeants, and I don't know why we see them, to be honest. But you are more independent of charging. However, I would appreciate a double divination spell setup here, but you have Wisdom Master Definition, so you will get the minimized discipline anyway. So that makes sense. Man at Arms, Man at Arms. This is quite a tanky list actually. It's, with some chaff. It's a good list to not lose, but it's not a good list to win. If you know what I mean. If your opponent doesn't want to engage, then it's not gonna happen. So you just have to weather the trebuchets basically. That's it. If you don't want to engage. Robert Jankin, I guess he's American, Scottish. Leroy Jenkins. Duke on a Hippogriff, BSB. Eldritch Inscriptions. First time we see it in any list so far. It's this weird price point at 40 points where it's generally not good enough to put on a combat focused character. And then it doesn't do enough, right? Like you have AP1, AP2 on the charge. It's not enough. Excellence, does Excellence give you anything? Excellence, Lethal Strike, meh. Lethal Strike reroll to wound, meh. And then multiple wounds too. That is a funny combination then, yeah. Yeah, then I get it again. I would have wanted the extra attack maybe from Sainted, because now you're stuck with 4 attacks that hit likely on a 4+, because you're only offensive 6. 3+ if you spend a token. So that's okay. So you have 3+ to hit, you have reroll to wound, lethal strike, multiple wounds 2. But you have strength 5, say 5. You have strength +1, right? Yeah, strength +1. So that's quite funny. Paladin, Hippogriff, Halbert, Paladin, Unicorn. Yeah, I'm wondering again if you should have just combined a bit to get a bit buffier model, but Death Cheater is also 100 points, right? Knights of the Realm, Relic Shroud. It's quite a basic list, I think. Could do very well in the hands of a strong player, as they say. He only has 1 magic user, and it's Druidism, so the magic is not going to do anything for the first 3 rounds, basically, other than to heal 1 wound on a character. Because what's going to happen generally is that, or at least what smart players do, is that they try to mitigate the damage that you can heal easily. So, for example, against Druidism, you would focus on 1 unit to make the level, or the number 6 spell quite useless compared to the level 1. You still have the double heal, but then in the end you can heal 1 wound or 2 wounds, and that's it. And that's okay. If that's your entire magic phase, that's perfectly fine. But you don't have any of your combat buffs then, just to be able to heal a knight, which is quite sad. Yeah, so I don't think the magic support is good enough here. I don't think Kingdom of Equitaine for me. Because it's one of these passive lists where you have to wait the entire battle, and then last turns you just go in a bit. Damsel, Duke, where's the general? I want to know who's the general. General, first entry. With Master Divination, we have a Duke, BSP, yes, we have double Paladin on the Unicorn. So far, so good, I would say. You have the Knights of the Realm, Mounted Sergeants, no Hedge Knights again. I would have put in some Hedge Knights, but this is only your 4 scoring units, you expect to lose 1 at least. Knights of the Quest. Stock Standard is also really good for Kingdom. Even though with the Paladins, with the Unicorns, you have Strider on these guys, so that helps. The Fey Knight. Don't know if you needed a stock standard, but That is probably due to playing experience. You see double trebuchet quite a lot nowadays. What does the trebuchet do? Like if I would play equitaine, I would definitely play siege weapons, but I would probably go for the scorpions. Just because they're so annoying. Because the AP10 is on all shots there. So if you ever get a flank shot on a unit of cavalry, and you do 5 hits, then you will kill 3 of them, probably. Yeah, so trebuchet, catapult 4x4, that is quite small nowadays. Strength 5 AP1 though. 16 hits, strength 5 AP1. That can do a lot of damage if it hits. 72 inches maximum range, so you hit on a 4+. Okay, sure. Yeah, I can get it, because Kingdom has a bit of struggles with going through ranks still. Like a single unit of these guys will not break a unit of infantry. So then the trebuchets, they can thin out infantry quite reliably. Yeah. I get it. David Abarzuza, Turkey, Spain. We have a folk hero general with a minstrel and a book of arcane mastery. Makes sense. We have the wizard master on shamanism. First shamanism one gives you free chaff though. Duke. All about sweaty Hutter's metal. Is this better than the folk hero? He had honor on the Duke. Folk hero, paladin. Honor. Maximize charge range. Devastating charge +2 attacks. If you go into the front, you just go into the front and you say, I have, what's that? 6 attacks plus the bolt. That's quite a decent piece to keep people away mostly. So I would have expected 2 trebuchets in here as well. Unless he just wants to go in. He just wants to go in, yeah. A lot more to remind. Nice guy from the flanks. Mounted sergeants, hedge knights, low on level. He just wants to go in. Don't know why he doesn't have a relentless banner, if that's an option on lowborn levies, but I don't think it is. Knights of the court. Yeah, I can get this. It's an aggressive list. Just want to go in and charge and kill everything. It's going to be susceptible to counter charges though sometimes. Even though Knights of the Quest handle themselves quite well if they are getting charged. And then it's... well, you have some donations, so that's good. Cactus! This is Turkey. We found Turkey. Hey, siege weapon scorpions! This is my man. This is my favorite for Kingdom of Equitaine. Duke General. Pet weapons, Eldritch descriptions. Did he get the lethal strike? I think excellence was lethal strike, right? Yes, well done. So pet weapons doesn't raise your strength, so you will get more rerolls. So that is also quite fun. Yeah, I think that's a good setup. This guy, Duke Hippogriff, BSB, 8 Icon, does he have innate magic resistance 1? Because otherwise it's kind of useless. Fate, fearless early vows. Pray wretched, so the extra armor. Magic resistance 1, it's not gonna cut it, mate. Damsel, Wizard Master Druidism. Let's go Airmen, then we have the Knights of the Realm, other one levies, archers. Archery drills is accurate, I think, and then it makes sense. Is that accurate? Knights of the Realm, archers. If you have at least 1 full rank, you get 2 instances of shoot an extra rank. Okay. Why only take 15 then? It doesn't really matter. It's just a scoring unit, really. Knights of the Realm, low on levies, scorpions. Yeah, it's so this is once again a list where you have two beefy characters that are gonna pull their weight. Druidism makes sense with the 4 different models you have that can heal, that are quite mobile, so you can still try to force through the bubble heal. Yeah, I do get this list. Yeah. So the scorpions are there for just to basically deny the standoff and just chip in some wounds. And you can be happy with just a draw, basically, where you try to still pull the objective, but you do some damage on range. Magic-wise, we have the Wizard Master and Druidism. I think the Fey Knight, one of them is also... No, that is the Lady Scorcher. So this is your only magic. That is an issue, though. That's an issue. Ukraine. Kostiandin. Folk hero with Sainted. A Sainted Minstrel. You don't see that very often, I think. He wants to do everything in his same character. That doesn't make the character good enough in combat, I think. It's a bit of a waste of your Sainted upgrade. Folk hero Quinn, yeah, Duke. With 4 barons, is that the one where you get extra attacks? 4 barons. Distracting, that was that. Yes. Bastards. Sword, shield breaker, yeah, you get the shield. Paladin on a unicorn twice, so that's the build that we saw before. Basically at that point level where it's not really worth it to heal your characters, so you don't heal your characters. So that makes sense. Damsel, shamanism, a lot of different knights. Trebuchet, yeah, this is basically a list that we saw before, right? I think it works. It works. Just if you encounter characters that are too beefy and bulky, then you don't have an answer really. Like I'm bringing a Chosen Lord on a Wasteland Dragon. This guy's not going to do anything against that, I think. Let's just see if he has anything that can hold up against that. Great Weapon, Cleansing Light. So you have 3 attacks, 4 attacks with strength 6. So you would hit me on 4s, wound me on 5s. That's fine. I strike first as well. This guy can't. This guy can't. This can't. No. Nope. I shouldn't give him the charge with the Knight of the Court, I guess. And I should dispel his magic. His magic is this and this. And Folk Hero Witchcraft. And the definition. Okay, that's quite a lot of magic. Yeah, he doesn't have too many to wound buffs though. He only has shamanism, so my dragon will be fine. Then, oh yeah, I have to click here. Lol. Wills, Rory Stoves. Rory is bringing a damsel on a unicorn to give his unit magical attacks. To give the Knights of the Realm magical attacks, I guess. Paladin Hippogriff twice. Basically the same build. Yeah, basically the same build. Folk Hero with the Atlas Metal, that is that fun character. I think he's gonna go in a unit though with the Dustria. The Mounted Sergeants, low on levies. Yeah, it's nothing to write home about, but yeah, funny list. It's kind of similar to a lot what we saw. Basically, you have 4 scoring units, well 5 in this case, but normally you have 4, and you have double trebuchet, you have some characters, that's it. And then we are at the start again with Felix, so that was Kingdom of Equitaine. Let's see, what is the next one? The next one would be Ogre Cans. Let's just open the book right away. We had an Ogre Can player in the Netherlands who also joined the ETC with Ogre Cans. And it's been a couple of years, so we haven't really played against Ogre Cans generally as a country. So if you play Ogre Cans, you have an advantage over the Netherlands. Argentina, because we don't know your tricks anymore. We have a great gun, Destiny's Call, Kagadi's Legacy. How many attacks does this guy have? He has 5 attacks, right? And yes, 5 attacks, offensive 6, so that's not very good. Kagadi's Legacy is strength 7 then, and you have multiple wounds D3. Yeah, that's it. Okay, just to know. I mean, it's good 5 attacks with D3 damage, but it's not reliable. Like against multiple wound units, it's really good. Against characters, I don't know if I would risk it. But you do have 5 hit points yourself. That makes a difference. Shamanism, Wizard Master, Pyromancy for the -1 to wound. Your hereditary is -1 to wound, so you have that double. And you have the +1 to wound as well. Wizard Master Pyromancy does change certain matchups like Dread Elves or Sylvaners. Can BSB with the Viper's Curse, so a bit of shooting there. Bruises with the Banner of Discipline. He also has the Banner of Discipline, so your Merc Vets are not going to have any issues with Panic. Ogre Pistols, Poison Attacks, and then the Viper's Curse in there as well. That is quite a shooting unit that you can buff with Pyromancy for +1 to wound. Otherwise you would have Thaumaturgy, I believe. It doesn't really buff you up. So that makes sense. Is there any other lore that you could choose? Shamanism. Shamanism, Wizard Apprentice is a bit too expensive for ogres, I guess. Bruisers make sense. Scraplings. Tusk Calf, I think these are really, really good in most matchups if your opponent doesn't deal with them properly, and if your opponent does deal with them properly, they are really, really bad. So if your opponent gets a flank charge on them, and you can mitigate the damage to just one guy attacking with a unit that is suited to break them and make them flee, then it's just over, really. And then it's quite expensive for 3 of them. Saber-tooth Tigers, because normally players put them on the flanks without any support on the flanks. Like if you had like a Gorger, what are they called? The guys, the stubborn guys, or normally they ambush with them, which is the Kin Eaters. So unbreakable guy. If you play Tusk Calf, I would say play Kin Eater as well and just keep it on the flank as a counter charge piece, so that your opponent cannot really threaten your Tusker Cavalry flank. But it's for 380, it's not too much investment. If you start doing that, it becomes an investment because you have to pay for the Kin Eater as well. You basically want the 4 Tusker Cavalry to buff them up a bit. It's a different intention. The obligatory Saber-tooth Chaff, 2 Scratchbots and a Rock Orcs. Yeah. I guess if you play Bruisers, you take the Rock Orcs. If you play other Ogres, you take the Frosty. I expect most lists to look like this, or a variation of that. Okay, I was wrong. So we have a general with the Kagadi's Legacy, at least. That's the same. With Master Shamanism, because you're not shooty focused in this list, so you take Shamanism instead. Pennant is the Swift Stride one. There's 2, there's like the Pennant and the other one. Banner of Vignette. Pennant is Swift Stride, yeah. Okay. Tribesman with Swift Stride and paired weapons. Paired weapons is good. Why would you not have a Frosty in this list? Because you have the Yetis, maybe. I would expect a frost mana, but then the Tusker Cav have great weapons anyway, so they don't really care about the frost mana. Yeah, it's also double -1 to wound for your opponent, so that is cool. It's quite an aggressive list, this. You should charge these on the flanks, but there's 3 units of them, so good luck. I guess good players can play against this and do quite well. And in some matchups you just push it forward and you win the game. France, Benjamin. We have a great gun with the Rampages, Chain and Spine Splitters, so not the Cacodice. I would intuitively say that if you play a great gun you want the Cacodice, and if you play a normal gun you don't want it. Bear against stomp attacks D3+1, and you have to reroll to wound with stomp attacks. That is generally a good item. Spine Splitter. It's up here, I guess. Big names. Spine Splitter. There we go. Devastating charge, +1 attack, +1 strength, +1 AP. And it also impacted stomp attacks. So he's really built, geared towards infantry killing. Double Merc Vet, Frost Mammoth, yeah, that is the list basically. Yeah, it's quite intuitively. I think dependent of the Great Grass Sky, you generally want to include it in core because it's quite expensive, like in this list. This could also have been, I don't know if tribesmen, can they take a magic banner? I guess they can't. A can, and a core unit can't. Oh, they can. They can. You just wanted this core, I think. Otherwise, it's 2 ogres that you sacrifice, yes. Then Germany, Clément, Borcha. We have the Great Khan with paired weapons Kingslayer. That is fun. What does the Lightest Tongue nowadays do? I think it's a better setup than the other item I think I had. Lightest Tongue -2 offensive skill. Okay. So some offensive debuff on your opponent. And Kingslayer on yourself. Paired weapons, you go to 6 attacks, strength 5, 7 attack, strength 6 if there's 1 character, that is decent, and 8 attack, strength 7 if you have more. And then together with Rampages or with the Spine Splitter you get extra strength on the charge as well. Kingslayer does not count towards your Stomps though, but yeah, doesn't really matter. Khan, for the reroll of the ones, he's gonna go in the same unit as Great Khan, I guess. Then we have a Khan with Horde Master, so he has Weapon Master and a lot of different items. Ooh, maybe that's gonna be a cowboy by himself. While you run him in the unit. I think, well, you don't really have a unit anyway, so you have this big unit with tribesmen. Yeah, you have that one. Then this guy is gonna go with these, I guess. What is the skull of Kangat? 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 Is that a joke? Skull. Gains fear, passes terror. Yeah, then the shaman goes in there. The other shaman maybe goes in with the tribesman. And then you have just random shite. So basically this is one Death Star, I think, with a lot of stuff around, and you lose some of the stuff as the intention, but you don't lose the Death Star. It's a decent concept, right? But you have to have some range damage coming out of your Death Star. Question is this enough? Or is the mobility of your Death Star enough? Because if you face opponents that are more mobile than you, or that can just flee away from your Death Star, then it's gonna be a bad matchup. But generally, I mean, you have this more or less that is inaccessible to your opponent if your Death Star survives. Ireland, Marcus. There's a lot of variation in these OnG lists. Nobody knows what to pick. So that's good. Bad Weapons, Touch of Greatness. He thinks that's better than Kingslayer. If this guy's in a unit, then I would have gone Kingslayer instead, yeah. Because against most units, 11 tribesmen with a great gun is enough anyway. Shamanism Thaumaturgy to get -1 resilience on your opponent and to also get some range damage. You combine that with hunting. These guys are so good, I find. It's really against the right targets, the hunting spears. It's really good. So I think this is a good inclusion. They're also too tough to deal with on the flanks and stuff. Holy crossbow, Viper scares. Yes, that's the Viper scares. So you either enchant ogre pistols or an ogre crossbow. You have strength 4, strength. So 4 shot, strength 4, AP 2, range dependent on the weapon. Also get poison attacks, and then enchanted ogre crossbow loses area attack. Yeah, sure. Okay, cool. It's funny that you can either enchant a crossbow or ogre pistols. Then we have bombardiers, and then that's basically the list. Now the question is whether shooting ogres is still viable nowadays. We have John Turner with ogres as well, with a different list again. He doesn't have any combat characters really, so he relies more on the rank and file. What is his rank and file? 9 bruisers, 8 mercenary veterans, 2 thunder cannons. I think he's gonna be outcombated. Because the bruisers, I don't think they on their own hit hard enough. Mercenary vets are nice, but it's the single unit in the roster that does this, and then this is too much support because this doesn't do it enough by itself. Adam Ziloni from Slovenia. We have Mammoth Hunter on a orcs. That's cool. 2 Yetis, so it could be a very aggressive play. We have a Shamanism General Wizardmaster, and we have a Khan BSB. Double bruisers. So this is more what I would expect from a list like the previous one, where you still have decent combat units generally, compared to just having only 2 of them. So I think this will work a bit better than the previous list. I think this is quite a good list actually. Like you have the big bad guy that can just go in somewhere and deal a lot of damage. The Wizardmaster on Thaumaturgy with some extra shooting support. Still have combat threats. So basically, if your opponent doesn't engage, then you have enough damage to do a lot of damage. If your opponent does engage, you still have quite a lot of damage here. I would have given Swift Stride to one of your units at least, just because of the threat range. Sweden, Matthias Lagerlöf, double Mammoth Hunter. Why are they so expensive suddenly? Death Cheater is a reason, and Troll Eater is also regen. So I guess they're gonna pair this guy into matchups that don't have Quicksilver Lash. Or, yeah, Quicksilver Lash mostly. Can BSB. He has a lot of different stuff. Double Rocks. He just wants to charge. And make the charges mostly. Trappers. Does he have enough chaff? I was wondering. And then I saw the 2 trapper units. You also have 2 tribesman darts that you can use as chaff. Is it enough to enable the Rocks to charge? Possibly. I guess you can also just take a charge somewhere and then counter charge with the Rocks. Then I think I would have put it 3 tribesmen into the bruisers, but then you lose a chaff unit, so it's difficult. These also are quite tanky, to be honest. It's a cool list. Again, different from the previous. We have so many ogre counts, and it's so different. Oh well, we don't have that many ogre counts, basically, but they're all really different. Alright, let's go to orcs and goblins then. So with orcs and goblins, I expect mostly to see either orc list or goblin lists, or a combination. So I think orcs and goblins both currently are in a state where they can perform really, really well. Maybe the best players can take advantage of just both archetypes and then combine them in something really majestic. I guess goblins generally are a bit more defensive oriented and orcs a bit more offensively, so that is a bit of an anti-synergy, but we will see what will pop up in the lists. We have an Iron Orc Loner with a Grunter, Shield Tusk Forged, and a Dragonfire Gem. And this is in the end quite an expensive cowboy. I would expect a lot of people to run the Iron Orc Loner if they run Orcs, but then kit it out very basically because he's quite a point investment if you really beef him up. Like this, for example, and the role that he plays is still the same. So the only thing you really need is plate armor, shield, maybe Duskforged. That's it, I think. We have a Goblin Witch Master, Wizard Master with Monster Munch, Orc Shaman on a Wyvern, Essence of Metal, Talisman of Shielding, so that is decent enough if you play a bit offensively. Veteran Orc Marauders, I think this is one of the best units in the book. Feral Orc Marauders, I think they're worse, but then again they're also cheaper. Goblin Rabble, Goblin Reavers. I don't know why you have Reavers if you don't include the Gokduk-ish, whatever, the shooting guys. Double Great Green Idol, that seems excessive. Feral Orcs in special, because they are the BSB then, I guess. Feral Orcs are weird because they are quite cheap for what you get. However, they are not really good as BSB unit, I think, because they have some tricks where they can lose combat really badly and then break against fear or whatever, because they're not fearless anymore, are they? Guardian Behemoth with creepy crawlies and wicked horns and 3 goblin chariots. I didn't know goblin chariots still existed. I've never seen them anymore since the release of the Iron Orc chariot. I really don't know how well this is gonna go. So what I've seen so far is the power of orcs and goblins, or of orcs, comes from the fact that they can just continue on in combat and continue smacking and just don't stop ever because of the minimized discipline. So then I would expect bigger units. I have no idea. I think this is not too competitive, but yeah. I think mostly double Great Green Idol is excessive. And it makes sense, I guess, if you play a gun line, because then you can just block 2 parts of the field, but in this setup I don't get it. Belgium, Vincent Batterie. We have a goblin list. So a lot of damage probably, and a lot of wounds. Goblin Witch, Wizard on Pyromancy to buff your shooting probably. A Nash Whistle, that also makes sense. Goblin Demagogue, because, well, basically it's just quite cheap for the damage output. Then a Wizard Apprentice, Orc Shaman. This guy's the general, so you only have Discipline 8, I think. Triple Medkit as much as you can. Then we have some Veteran Orcs, Veteran Orc Marauders. They're gonna be by themselves, right? We have some goblin rebel, which can launch the medkits. We have some veteran orcs. Veteran orcs are good enough to run as a BSB unit, I think. But there was a lot of complaining, I believe, about the fact that they become special if you make them the head bashers. Apparently it still works out. We have a guardian beam of that's basically big, like a big spider. There's a lot of stuff in this list, right? So we still have a lot of Nashers, a lot of Nasher Dashers, which get maximized charge through the Nasher Whistle. No Witchcraft for extra range on the advance. Double Splatter, double Wrecking Team. I think design-wise, the Wrecking Teams are just a bad design in the game, because the only thing it does is delay the game for like 2 turns, because your opponent has to deal with them before he can deal with anything else. So it basically just buys you an extra turn that you can use to shoot or do something. But the game is already only 6 turns, so just including that for 200 points, I think it's bad design. Yeah, it's a really offensive. There's a lot of damage coming out of goblins. That's always been the case, really. Like matchup like this for something like Dreadnoughts is just impossible because you bleed wounds everywhere. So yeah, you have to just put down a lot of low quality wounds, I think, to counter this. And even then, that's a good list. It's a good list. I think it will make a lot of players think about what they want to do with this. Because there's always this extra unit that you still have. Denmark, Iron Orc Loner with a big wing. So he's quite a chunky boy. Apparently, people try to play these guys as Kingdom of Equitaine characters. Even though you don't have any healing. Orc Warlord with the Omen of the Apocalypse, which is what I would expect to see quite often because this item is really insane. Orc Shaman on the Grunter, okay. Skullfatch, also really good. Goblin Witchcraft, yeah, medkits. Then we have a lot of stuff. Goblin Rebel with Poison Spears is really amazing. There was a way to get them to 5 up Spears, 5 up Poison, but I think it's only in the Goblin only list. And then we have Orcs, Veteran Orcs. This is a bit more of a standard list, I feel. But you do see this investment. You see it back in this list of units, that it's quite condensed. So normally you have like 2 units extra in combat here, whereas here you spend them on the characters. I think it's a bit less ideal. It's basically because of the anti-synergy, the dichotomy between goblins wanting to pull out the game for longer and orcs trying to just get in. Then we have Finland with Olli. Iron Orc Learner on a Wyvern. Apparently these are quite popular. Iron Orc Warlord with the Omen. Triple Veteran Orcs with shields and bows. Bows is an upgrade that I would say is just nearly an auto include because it changes some matchups just tremendously. A lot of different stuff again. Idol, Giant. Idol generally, I think one idol is good. The BSB Veteran Orc Marauders. I think that makes sense as well. And then one splatter, that is an odd choice. Because people can usually hide from one splatter, so that's why you take double. But maybe he had just some points left in his list, and it was like, ah, splatter is fine. That's it. Don't know how well 20 veteran orcs perform, but otherwise it's a decent list. This unit is something you have to include in an orc list, I find. Because you get the maximized, double maximized. Well, you have Swiss side and you get maximized charges, and the +1 advance when you declare the war cry, so you can zone incredibly far. So I guess it's good that they didn't allow a build where you have this combined with a solid gun line. KoE, Vincent from France. So he has an orc warlord with the omen. There's a lot of orcs. Orc shaman on a wyvern, orc shaman on a wyvern. Maybe that is like a hidden build that is actually really good. I think I saw on a forum. No, that was for a different game. Iron Orc Loner, the cheap version, which I think makes sense. Then the Veteran Orc Marauders with a banner of speed, even to zone even further. Small darts to just deal damage in combat. As long as you strike before the enemy, you're gonna do a lot of damage. If you strike after the enemy, then you will do less damage, but you will still, like these champions, they are just insane with 4 attacks with great weapons. It's Great Green Idol, Giants. I don't know why he doesn't have the Brick Brother Giants, because that can definitely make a difference sometimes. Nashers and Farlocks and Bashers. Yeah, this is just a combat list. But the funny thing is that you have the Veteran Orc Marauders, you have the Farlocks. That is your combat units. Well, you have the Giants also. You can play quite aggressively with this, so that's quite good. Matthias Avaland from which country would this be? Germany. Iron Orc Loner. The Loner gets the Omen of the Apocalypse. Damn. That is scary. Then we have an Orc Warlord on foot. Okay. Normally you would get either the Feral Orc variant or the one on the Grunter. So this is quite unique, I think. Orc Shaman with that Atona. Wyvern, Goblin Witch had a 2 medkits with some Veteran Orc Marauders. This is a very well mixed list. There was a reason why you would take trolls with goblins but not with orcs. I think orcs have alternatives that are generally better. But then again, they do fill a niche where if you're, what was it again? If your opponent, there was something. There's a situation where your trolls really perform well, and I think it's something with the 2-hit roll or something. If your opponent can't hit for shit, then they take better or something. Like if you work out the maths. I mean, if your opponent doesn't hit that hard, you still have 15 attacks coming out of them with 4 stomps. So that's not bad. It's not bad at all. And 1 unit of trolls doesn't really change matchups, so that's good. Halvard Haugen. That's a funny list. We have a general on a grunter who's gonna go into a unit of Veteran Orc Marauders. Yeah, I was suspecting that this would be a recurring theme because it's just so good. Iron Orc Loner with Ranger's boots because it's cheaper than an extra grunter, I guess. So we have some magic support, sure. We have the Veteran Orcs. We have Goblin Rabble, quite a lot of them, just to stay steadfast. I guess he's just going to countercharge with these pieces, and then this makes sense. Unless you run into units that do so much damage that you will not. He doesn't have any upgrades to the Rabble, like Mad Kits or or the other upgrades you can take. This good. You really rely on your countercharge units. But I guess that's fine. He's gonna go through 60 goblin rabble in one turn. One turn. Not that many people. I like this list. It's something that I could see myself playing. Andrea. What did Andrea take? Goblins. Just to. Oh wow, with 90 feral orcs. This might be a hidden gem, yeah. So basically, you make a goblin list and you include just a lot of orcs. What? Is he way over his core budget? I guess so. That's quite interesting, yeah. So, okay, let's see. Just ignoring like core limitations and stuff, how would you build this list? I want a wizard master, yeah, sure. I want a wizard apprentice on witchcraft, because witchcraft is cool. Yeah, then I have a democrat. More magic for the wizard apprentice shamanism. Wizard apprentice shamanism is really good now. HP. Like you could argue that a 215 point orc shaman is better than a orc hero in your unit because of the 5+2 wound on the shamanism thing. So you can basically turn off a lot of jewels. You can turn those off quite effectively, yeah. And the dragon staff has some combat powers too. So yeah, you have your goblin set up. Then you include the 3 medkits that you want, yeah, sure. Then you say, okay, I want something reliable that will just stick in combat. I'll take triple feral orcs. Minimize discipline, a lot of wounds, will stick around. Mostly want to do the first turn of combat, and then I will find a solution in my own turn to deal with it. And they maybe grind out some stuff. I think this is a decent setup, yeah. That's cool. And then you still have space for a lot of stuff. Nash dashers are too good for offensively for the points that they cost. Trolls are solid. And you still have a unit of veteran marauders with a guy in there, yeah, but he doesn't have the crazy charge range. So. Yeah. Well, that's an interesting list, that's for sure. That's for sure. Luxembourg. Edward. Orc Warlord. General on a grunter with task forged, Omen of the Apocalypse. Yep. As Italy shows us, it's a question whether you want to play this or not, but it's a decent piece. Then we have a wizard adept on shamanism, wizard master, thaumaturgy. Most people play a wizard master with some support, right? It's just like the general theme. Whereas how long has it been since I played a wizard master? More than 2 years at least. More than 3 years. I haven't touched a wizard master for more than 3 years. So veteran orcs, fellow orcs. Like the difference between Italy and this is that Italy accepts that you will lose units. Like 30 feral orcs is sufficient in most situations. 40 is basically sufficient in all situations, except if your opponent really commits to them. But then, do you need the 40? That is the question, usually. 14 veteran orc marauders with the warlord. Yeah, this is quite a... We've seen this before. Hassel, that is our orcs and goblins. This is such a long list. It's, honestly, between the goblin rebel with the poison spear and the Farlock units. I don't know. Farlocks are good as well. But yeah, this is our nonsense. Jørn from Norway. Norway. Orc Warlord, Omen of the Apocalypse. Orc Shaman, Double on Wyvern, we saw that before. Small units of veteran Orc Marauders, but big enough to guarantee that if you lose 3 that you will still do a lot of combat damage, so maybe that is the thought there. And then we have some veteran Orcs. Small unit of Trolls. Small unit of Trolls. So, that, like these lists from Orcs, they are different, aren't they? But they include the same pieces. It's really funny to see how people optimize their list, because basically you have feral orcs, you have veteran orc marauders, you have veteran orcs with head bashers, and you have some nashers, great green idol, and giant. That is like the basic piece, and then the characters, well, they differ a bit, but basically you have wizard adept, and either a wizard adept or a wizard master. And then the rest basically is where it all differs. And this setup is, I think this is a really good setup. Question is whether it's sufficient for your Orc Warlord, 8 veteran Orc Marauders. I don't know. In some matchups it is probably, and in some it might not be. But in the end, if your Orc Warlord ends up alone, that's also no biggie. He just has to survive until he reaches combat, so that's fine. Because if he's by himself fighting a unit, then the opponent also doesn't get a chance to strike at the easy to win rank or file, and he doesn't get a lot of attacks because your footprint is so small. Joseph Sampson from Scotland, Orc Warlord with the Omen of the Apocalypse. We also have some magic. We have a goblin witch with more magic. Veteran Orc Marauders, the big unit. Veteran Orcs, decent unit. More, he has double Veteran Orc Marauders, and he has twice the Iron Orc Chariots for the counter charge. Well, I mean, as long as you haven't called your Orc right, the charge ranges on any of this and these is quite insane. So that is turn 1, you send forward your wrecking teams and you set everything up for a next turn charge. Turn 2, you charge. I think against this list you should go first, just to try and get the board control so that your opponent doesn't have the chance to get his wrecking teams in advantageous positions. There's just an ant that grabbed into my keyboard because I'm sitting outside. We have Marco Filiplic from Slovenia. Orcs and goblins, he promises. Well, he has orcs and he has goblins. There we go. Wizard Master Thaumaturgy with Adept Witchcraft, Triple Mat Kit, and all the nashers you can take, basically. Does he have the whistle? Yes, he does have the whistle. A whistle. Some trolls. This is basically the fluffy goblin list that still smacks your ass. So for me, I think I prefer this over the list where you have the Goblin Reavers with the shooting guys, because the shooting guys are a pain. Yeah, some lists might struggle with this. However, if you face a lot of range damage that can shoot off your nashers, then you're in a bit of a bad spot. Against dwarves, it's not going to go well. I think it's one of the less scary lists. But, Evgen from Ukraine, little cow. Orc Warlord with the Omen of the Apocalypse, Orc Shaman with magic setup. The Iron Orc Loner is back. It's a bit of a question whether people take them or not. It's still funny to see that it hasn't been established yet what is the best orc and goblin list to take to an event like this. That's wrong. Marauders, double, yeah. It's like, compared to the other list, where's its points? Why has 30 nashers? It's like, I'm fed up with people shooting my nashers, so I'll just take 30. It's a bit like flagellants, isn't it? You pay not that many points to get a unit, but in the end you don't have a musician or anything, so that is sometimes an issue. And nashers are not unbreakable, whereas flagellants are. Ali from Wales. Double Iron Orc Loner, only possible in an Orc list. So we have a Wyvern Loner and a Plate Armor Ranger's Boots Loner. So this is the cheap setup that I really like, because it's still like a Resilience 5 piece with a very small footprint with a 2+ armor save, 4+, 3+, 1+ armor save. It's just solid. It's really solid as a rock. And I'll just grind through stuff. I think this is how you should set up all your orc units ideally. You just want to grind and kill stuff. So yeah, the size of orc units, I have no idea what. Like I know that 40 is a bit of a guarantee that you will stick in combat for a long time. You will grind out most units. Don't know if 30 is enough for that. 25 is not enough. That I know. Veteran Orc Marauders twice. The rest of the list doesn't really support them that well, does it? I don't know. Don't know about this list. I guess for me this guy is too expensive. Like you miss a unit somewhere. And then we are back at Australia. Alright, let's go to Orcs and Goblins then. So with Orcs and Goblins, I expect mostly to see either Orc list or Goblin lists, or a combination. So I think Orcs and Goblins both currently are in a state where they can perform really well. Maybe the best players can take advantage of just both archetypes and then combine them in something really majestic. I guess goblins generally are a bit more defensive oriented and orcs a bit more offensively, so that is a bit of an anti-synergy, but we will see what will pop up in the lists. We have an Iron Orc Loner with a Grunter, Shield Tusk Forged and a Dragonfire Gem. And this is in the end quite an expensive goblin. I would expect a lot of people to run the Iron Orc Loner if they run Orcs, but then kit it out very basically because he's quite a point investment if you really beef him up like this, for example. And the role that he plays is still the same. So the only thing you really need is plate armor, shield, maybe Duskforged, but that's it, I think. We have a Goblin Witch Master, Wizard Master with Monster Munch, Orc Shaman on a Wyvern, Essence of Metal, Talisman of Shielding, so that is decent enough if you play a bit offensively. Veteran Orc Marauders, I think this is one of the best units in the book. Foul Orc Marauders, I think they're worse, but then again they're also cheaper. Goblin Rebel, Goblin Reavers. I don't know why you have Reavers if you don't include the Gok-Duck-ish, whatever, the shooting guys. Double Great Green Idol, that is seems excessive. Feral Orcs in special, they are the BSB then, I guess. Feral Orcs are weird because they are quite cheap for what you get. However, they are not really good as BSB unit, I think, because they have some tricks that where they can lose combat really badly and then break against fear or whatever, because they're not fearless anymore, are they? Guardian Behemoth with creepy crawlies and wicked horns and 3 goblin chariots. I didn't know goblin chariots still existed. I've never seen them anymore since the release of the Iron Orc chariot. I really don't know how well this is gonna go. So what I've seen so far is the power of orcs and goblins, or of orcs, comes from the fact that they can just continue on in combat and continue smacking and just don't stop ever because of the minimized discipline. So then I would expect bigger units. I have no idea. I think this is not too competitive, but yeah. I think mostly double Great Green Idol is excessive. And it makes sense, I guess, if you play a gun line, because then you can just block 2 parts of the field, but in this setup I don't get it. Belgium, Vincent Batterie. We have a goblin list. So a lot of damage probably, and a lot of wounds. Goblin Witch, Wizard on Pyromancy to buff your shooting probably. A National Whistle, that also makes sense. Goblin Demagogue, because, well, basically it's just quite cheap for the damage output. Then a Wizard Apprentice, Orc Shaman. This guy's the general, so you only have Discipline 8, I think. Triple Medkit, as much as you can. Then we have some Veteran Orcs, Veteran Orc Marauders. They're gonna be by themselves, right? We have some Goblin Rebel, which can launch the medkits. We have some Veteran Orcs. Veteran Orcs are good enough to run as a BSB unit, I think. But there was a lot of complaining, I believe, about the fact that they become special if you make them the head bashers. Apparently it still works out. We have a Guardian Behemoth with that's basically big, like a big spider. There's a lot of stuff in this list, right? So we still have a lot of Nashers, a lot of Nasher Dashers, which get maximized charge through the Nasher Whistle. And no Witchcraft for extra range on the advance. Double Splatter, double Wrecking Team. I think design-wise, the Wrecking Teams are just a bad design in the game, because the only thing it does is delay the game for like 2 turns, because your opponent has to deal with them before he can deal with anything else. So it basically just buys you an extra turn that you can use to shoot or do something. But the game is already only 6 turns, so just including that for 200 points, I think it's bad design. Yeah, it's a really offensive. There's a lot of damage coming out of goblins. That's always been the case, really. Like matchup like this for something like Dreadnoughts is just impossible because you bleed wounds everywhere. So yeah, you have to just put down a lot of low quality wounds, I think, to counter this. And even then, that's a good list. It's a good list. I think it will make a lot of players think about what they want to do with this. Because there's always this extra unit that you still have. Denmark, Iron Orc Loner with a big wing. So he's quite a chunky boy. apparently people try to play these guys as Kingdom of Equitaine characters. Even though you don't have any healing. Orc Warlord with the Omen of the Apocalypse, which is what I would expect to see quite often because this item is really insane. Orc Shaman on the Grunter, okay. Skullfatch also really good. Goblin Witchcraft, yeah, Medkit. Then we have a lot of stuff. Goblin Rebel with Poison Spears is really amazing. There was a way to get them to 5 up Spears, 5 up Poison, but I think it's only in the Goblin only list. And then we have Orcs, Veteran Orcs. This is a bit more of a standard list, I feel. But you do see this investment. You see it back in this list of units, that it's quite condensed. So normally you have like 2 units extra in combat here, whereas here you spend them on the characters. I think it's a bit less ideal. It's basically because of the anti-synergy, the dichotomy between goblins wanting to pull out the game for longer and orcs trying to just get in. Then we have Finland with Olli. An orc learner on a wyvern. Apparently these are quite popular. An orc warlord with the omen. Triple veteran orcs with shields and bows. Bows is an upgrade that I would say is just nearly an auto include because it changes some matchups just tremendously. A lot of different stuff again. Idol, giant. Idol generally, I think one idol is good. The BSB veteran orc marauders, I think that makes sense as well. And then one splatter, that is an odd choice. Because people can usually hide from one splatter, so that's why you take double. But maybe he had just some points left in his list, and I was like, splatter is fine. That's it. Don't know how well 20 veteran orcs perform, but otherwise it's a decent list. This unit is something you have to include in an orc list, I find. Because you get the maximized, double maximized. Well, you have suicide and you get maximized charges, and the +1 advance when you declare the war cry, so you can zone incredibly far. So I guess it's good that they didn't allow a build where you have this combined with a solid gun line. KoE, Vincent from France. So he has an orc warlord with the omen. There's a lot of orcs. Orc shaman on a wyvern, orc shaman on a wyvern. Maybe that is like a hidden build that is actually really good. I think I saw on a forum. No, that was for a different game. An orc loner, the cheap version, which I think makes sense. Then the veteran orc marauders with a banner of speed, even to zone even further. Small darts to just deal damage in combat. As long as you strike before the enemy, you're gonna do a lot of damage. If you strike after the enemy, then you will do less damage, but you will still, like these champions, they are just insane with 4 attacks with great weapons. It's Great Green Idol, Giants. I don't know why he doesn't have the Brick Brother Giants, because that can definitely make a difference sometimes. Nashers and Feral Orcs and Bashers. Yeah, this is just a combat list. But the funny thing is that you have the veteran orc marauders, you have the feral orcs. That is your combat units. Well, you have the giants also. You can play quite aggressively with this, so that's quite good. Matthias Abeland from... which country would this be? Germany, Germany. Iron Orc Loner! The Loner gets the Omen of the Apocalypse. Damn. That is scary. Then we have an Orc Warlord on foot. Okay. Normally you would get either the Feral Orc variant or the one on the Grunter, so this is quite unique, I think. Orc Shaman, Wizard Atona, Wyvern, Goblin Witch had a two bad guts with some veteran Orc Marauders. This is a very well mixed list. There was a reason why you would take trolls with goblins but not with orcs. I think orcs have alternatives that are generally better. But then again, they do fill a niche where if you're, what was it again? If your opponent, there was something. There's a situation where your trolls really perform well, and I think it's something with the two-hit roll or something. If your opponent can't hit for shit, then they get better or something. Like if you work out the maths. I mean, if your opponent doesn't hit that hard, you still have 15 attacks coming out of them with 4 stomps. So that's not bad. It's not bad at all. And one unit of trolls doesn't really change matchups, so that's good. Halvard Haugen. That's a funny list. We have a general on a grunter who's gonna go into a unit of veteran orc marauders. Yeah, I was suspecting that this would be a recurring theme because it's just so good. Iron Orc Loner with Ranger's boots because it's cheaper than an extra grunter, I guess. So we have some magic support, sure. We have the veteran orcs. We have Goblin Rabble, quite a lot of them, just to stay steadfast. I guess he's just gonna countercharge with these pieces, and then this makes sense. Unless you run into units that do so much damage that you will not. He doesn't have any upgrades to the Rabble, like Mad Kits or the other upgrades you can take. Is this good? You really rely on your countercharge units. But I guess that's fine. He's gonna go through 60 Goblin Rabble in one turn. One turn. Not that many people. I like this list. It's something that I could see myself playing. Andrea! What did Andrea take? Goblins. Just to... Oh wow, with 90 feral orcs. This might be a hidden gem, yeah. So basically you make a goblin list and you include just a lot of orcs. What? Is he way over his core budget? I guess so. That's quite interesting, yeah. So, okay, let's see. Just ignoring like core limitations and stuff, how would you build this list? I want a wizard master, yeah, sure. I want a wizard apprentice on witchcraft, because witchcraft is cool. Yeah, then I have a democrat. More magic for the wizard apprentice shamanism. Wizard apprentice shamanism is really good now. XP. Like you could argue that a 215 point orc shaman is better than a orc hero in your unit because of the 5+ to wound on the shamanism thing. So you can basically turn off a lot of jewels. You can turn those off quite effectively, yeah. And the dragon staff has some combat powers too. So yeah, you have your goblin setup. Then you include the 3 medkits that you want. Yeah, sure. Then you say, okay, I want something reliable that will just stick in combat. I'll take triple feral orcs. Minimize discipline, a lot of wounds, will stick around. Mostly want to do the first turn of combat, and then I will find a solution in my own turn to deal with it. And they maybe grind out some stuff. I think this is a decent setup, yeah. That's cool. And then you still have space for a lot of stuff. Nash dashes are too good for offensively for the points that they cost. Trolls are solid. And you still have a unit of veteran orc marauders with a guy in there. Yeah, but he doesn't have the crazy charge range. So, well, that's an interesting list, that's for sure. That's for sure. Luxembourg. Edward. Orc warlord. General on a grunter with task forged. Omen of the apocalypse. Yep. As Italy shows us, it's a question whether you want to play this or not, but it's a decent piece. Then we have a wizard adept on shamanism, wizard master, thaumaturgy. Most people play a wizard master with some support, right? It's just like the general theme. Whereas how long has it been since I played a wizard master? More than 2 years at least. More than 3 years. I haven't touched a wizard master for more than 3 years. So veteran orcs, fellow orcs. Like, the difference between Italy and this is that Italy accepts that you will lose units. Like 30 feral orcs is sufficient in most situations. 40 is basically sufficient in all situations, except if your opponent really commits to them. But then, do you need the 40? That is the question, usually. 14 veteran orc marauders with the warlord, and yeah, this is quite a... We've seen this before. Hassel, that is our orcs and goblins. This is such a long list. It's, honestly, between the goblin rabble with the poison spear and the feral orc units, I don't know. Feral orcs are good as well. But yeah, this is our nonsense. Jørn from Norway. Orc warlord, omen of the apocalypse. Orc shaman, double on wyvern. We saw that before. Small units of veteran orc marauders, but big enough to guarantee that if you lose 3 that you will still do a lot of combat damage, so maybe that is the thought there. And then we have some veteran orcs. Small unit of trolls. So that, like these lists from orcs, they are different, aren't they? But they include the same pieces. It's really funny to see how people optimize their list, because basically you have feral orcs, you have veteran orc marauders, you have veteran orcs with head bashers, and you have some nashers, great green idol, giant. That is like the basic piece, and then the characters, well, they differ a bit, but basically you have wizard adept and either a wizard adept or a wizard master, and then the rest basically is where it all differs. And this setup is, I think this is a really good setup. Question is whether it's sufficient for your orc warlord, 8 veteran orc marauders. I don't know. In some matchups it is probably, and in some it might not be. But in the end, if your orc warlord ends up alone, that's also no biggie. He just has to survive until he reaches combat, so that's fine. Because if he's by himself fighting a unit, then the opponent also doesn't get a chance to strike at at the easy to win rank of a file, and he doesn't get a lot of attacks because your footprint is so small. Joseph Sampson from Scotland, Orc Warlord with the Omen of the Apocalypse. We also have some magic. We have a goblin witch with more magic. Veteran Orc Marauders, the big unit. Veteran Orcs, decent unit. More, he has double Veteran Orc Marauders, and he has twice the Iron Orc Chariots for the counter charge. Well, I mean, as long as you haven't called your Warcry the charge ranges on any of this, and he's quite insane. So that is turn 1. You send forward your wrecking teams, and you set everything up for a next turn charge. Turn 2, you charge. I think against this list you should go first, just to try and get the board control, so that your opponent doesn't have the chance to get his wrecking teams in advantageous positions. There's just an ant that grabbed into my keyboard because I'm sitting outside. We have Marko Filiplic from Slovenia. Orcs and goblins, he promises. Well, he has orcs and he has goblins. There we go. Wizard Master Thaumaturgy with Adept Witchcraft, Triple Mat Kit, and all the nashes you can take, basically. Does he have the whistle? Yes, he does have the whistle. A whistle. Some trolls. This is basically the fluffy goblin list that still smacks your ass. So for me, I think I prefer this over the list where you have the Goblin Reavers with the shooting guys, because the shooting guys are a pain. Yeah, some lists might struggle with this. However, if you face a lot of range damage that can shoot off your nashes, then you're in a bit of a bad spot. Against dwarves, it's not going to go well. I think it's one of the less scary lists. But Evgen from Ukraine, little cow. Orc Warlord with the Omen of the Apocalypse, Orc Shaman with magic setup. Iron Orc Loner is back. It's a bit of a question whether people take them or not. It's still funny to see that it hasn't been established yet what is the best Orc and Goblin list to take to an event like this. Veteran Orc Marauders, double, yeah. It's like, compared to the other list, where's its points? Well, yes, 30 nashes. It's like, I'm fed up with people shooting my nashes, so I'll just take 30. It's a bit like Flagellants, isn't it? You pay not that many points to get a unit, but in the end you don't have a musician or anything, so that is sometimes an issue. And nashes are not unbreakable, whereas Flagellants are. Ali from Wales. Double Iron Orc Loner, only possible in an Orc list. So we have a Wyvern Loner and a Plate Armor Ranger's Boots Loner. So this is the cheap setup that I really, really like. Because it's still like a Resilience 5 piece with a very small footprint with a 2+ armor save, 4+, 3+, 1+ armor save. It's just solid. It's really solid as a rock. And I'll just grind through stuff. I think this is how you should set up all your Orc units, ideally. You just want to grind and kill stuff. So yeah, the size of Orc units, I have no idea what. Like I know that 40 is a bit of a guarantee that you will stick in combat for a long time. You will grind out most units. Don't know if 30 is enough for that. 25 is not enough. That I know. Veteran Orc Marauders twice. The rest of the list doesn't really support them that well, does it? I don't know. Don't know about this list. Um, I guess for me this guy is too expensive. Like you miss a unit somewhere. And then we are back at Australia. Did we start with Australia? Or did we? Yeah, we did. Yeah, so that is the orcs and goblins.